I really do believe that us women, we are not fully aware of how powerful we are. We're not aware that we are literally supernatural creatures. Like, we give life, we can birth it into existence. And we can know without knowing. Like, we're so intuitive. We are really just this magical vortex naturally. We are gifted with this. Yet, some way, shape, or form down the line, we become suppressed. It keeps us from actually creating and making magic with ourselves. Like, actually allowing our sensuality to roam free, allowing our beautiful feminine energy to just be that sacred portal to literally create life, to literally be in tune with the divine. So that portal gets really messy when it is not aligned. When you call back your power, it's like you literally claiming back your spiritual sovereignty, like you being whole, you feeling complete.
In your divine essence you shine. In your divine essence you thrive. I'm your host, Riss, and you're listening to Essence Podcast.
Hey soul babes, welcome to the Essence Podcast. I'm your host, Riss, and in this space, I dive into the world of holistic wellness, creativity, and spirituality. Consider me your intuitive bestie here to guide you along the journey of reconnecting with your essence. Together, we'll explore what it means to live authentically, unapologetically, and in alignment with our soul's purpose. And in this week's episode, I'm going to be diving into claiming back your power from your exes. Yes, this means people that you've had sexual intercourse with, from partners to flings, to one night stands, to just booty calls, all of the above. Anybody who has entered your sacred portal is where we are calling back our power. And I know a lot of women find this very taboo and are kind of like, how do you call back your power? Like, how do you do that? And this is the episode that we're going to dive into so you can see what that looks like on calling back your power. Literally claiming yourself, claiming back your creative portal, your sacred self back to wholeness. So grab your tea, grab your crystals, whatever you need to get grounded, and let's dive in. Alrighty, soul babes, it's been a minute since I've been on my actual podcast. Yes, I have had many creative blocks coming through. There was an eclipse portal, many moons, full moons, new moons, just awakenings after awakening, shedding, rebirthing myself, another death process, and then a rebirth again. It's been a whole whirlwind of transformation for the better, of course, but it had me pull away from my podcast. And so I'm actually really happy to just be back on here and to just be chatting with you and to set the motion again, taking action again on this podcast by starting it off with something very personal and deep. That was more of so the awakening that I was having is like, go deeper, share deeper things that I've been through, deeper wisdom, the deeper things that I've actually seen transformation on. And I do feel like I am at a whole nother level now, just being so much more comfortable in front of the camera, in front of this microphone, just really relaxed in my skin. The more that, of course, that I show up. And I'm ready. I'm ready to just see where this next adventure comes and how it takes us to whatever next conversations that we continuously have together. And whatever the divine is allowing me and asking me to share with you. And so this one in particular is a big topic that came to me as like the opener to talk about calling back your power from your exes. So to get more into this and why this started to pop up was I saw an ex a few days ago at work. So let me talk about work just for a little bit, just so you know what I'm doing. Like, what is Riss doing behind Essence Podcast? Like, where has she been? What is she getting into? And a lot of you know that I have a bit of a struggle with like my masculine side. I definitely am working through money blocks. I'm definitely working through the daddy issues, just fixing up that masculine energy within myself. And in the beginning of August, during the Mercury retrograde, I applied to a few jobs and I was kind of like, okay, I need to get in somewhere to just start making more income. But every job I had applied to was more so in a place of scarcity. And it was becoming a block of me trying to get to this next place and have a security, a foundation to make money, but not necessarily landing on a job that really fit where I'm at. And so I applied to a few, and there was one in particular that I felt very called to apply for. And it's a business called Real Roots. Real Roots is a platform for women to connect. It first starts online. So you fill out your application per se, like you have a whole like personality quiz that you do, what you're looking for in a friend, and what's your vibe. And so once Real Roots is able to know who you are, they match you with a group of ladies, and you go to these like meet and greets. And then if you like them, if you like the ladies that you're with, then you start a series. So you hang out and you do things. So like you go bowling, you go eat dinner, you just have so many fun nights of just exploring the town that you're in and meeting new people that are like literally by you. And so that role, that like job in itself of helping women connect together and building community was something where I was like, oh yes, this is my calling. Like this is a step in the direction that I feel I'm ready to be in. And I applied and I got the job. So I'm considered a guide. That's my position. And so I show up to different locations. This time around, I was working in Santa Monica, and it was at a brewery. And as I scanned the room, I happened to lock eyes with one of my exes. And this is not like an ex of like boyfriend, girlfriend type of ordeal or like partner. This is more so an ex hookup person that I had for quite a moment. And so I had my sunglasses on and I was just looking at him like straight in the eyes, but I had my sunglasses on again. So I was not like worried that he was like thinking that I was looking at him or not, because my sunglasses were pretty tint. And so I was like, yep, that's him. But I was observing myself in that moment because I was like, I'm actually not reacting. Because old me would have definitely reacted. Old me would have been like, oh gosh, that person's here, But then on the other side of the, oh gosh, that person's here, I would have also been like, I hope they notice me. And that was not happening. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm cool. Like, I could be in this room with somebody that's like an ex-partner, and this is cool. I was like observing him like with his group of friends, like his party that he was with. And I was like, oh, I think that's his girlfriend. Well, I'm happy he has a girlfriend. Like, I'm glad that he's found somebody. So that was like how I was observing myself in that situation. And then I continued on working. All the women, the ladies, like were all coming in, and I was checking them in and helping them get situated. And then, of course, by the end of the night, I'm kind of like back and like, okay, I kind of see him again. And then I'm feeling kind of like weird a little bit. Like the past is starting to slowly creep up. And I'm just like, okay, well, it's there, like what I'm feeling and how I, felt in that time, that feeling of the memory that I have with him, which I'll get into, is starting to like creep up. And so I just want to talk about like the seating situation. the TV, like the big screen, was like on one side. Then in the middle is the walkway. That's where you come in and out of this brewery. And then on the other side of the walkway is his table, is the ex's table with his party. So I have to walk through this walkway in between the TV and his table. So I am pretty sure he was gonna like obviously see me. So I made sure, I was like, okay, well, if I have to pass by him, then I gotta like, make sure I'm like, I'm good. Like I look good. I'm working, I'm like, I'm doing well for myself, which I am. And like, like let's just boost that up a little. So I did. And I walked across and, that was it. That was the end of that story. But as I drove home from Santa Monica back to the Valley, I was like, okay, now it's time to just like, just integrate what I was going through, like what I felt. And I like to reflect a lot. Like that's just how I process things. And so slowly but surely, it started to pop up all the memories that I was like feeling with this guy. And I remember when I met him in college. So he was a frat boy. He was one of the dudes in the frats that I was like always kind of like hanging around. And I remember when he first started to notice me and got my number, he was like blowing me up. He continuously texted me. He was like always wanting to hang out, quote unquote, and like I was just kind of like, nah, I'm good, And he was very persistent, and eventually one thing led to another where I ended up actually coming over. And so once I became like this like fling of his, or just constantly hooked up, that's when it started to feel like, okay, like I think he wants something a little bit more, but that was because I wanted something a little bit more, Okay, so I do want to cover that a lot of my childhood and my teenage years, it has been very much me needing the masculine to like give me safety, giving me security. And I did have that to some extent with my dad. Although me and my dad, we haven't actually been like fully like communicative with each other, he was always like, if you need something material, like I can get it for you. So it was there, but like the needing aspect of things were always like so intense. And so like even my boyfriends that I had in high school, it was like very clingy, And my last year of high school, it was my senior year, and I was dating a guy that I was obviously like in love with, and expected that we were going to make it work. I already knew I was leaving to LA. So this was back in Stockton, my hometown. And I already had known, by senior year, I was going to leave, and had, still had this relationship going on. And it wasn't until my graduation when I found out that my ex-boyfriend, that boyfriend at the time, was cheating on me with my friend who was on my cheer team. And that like really stirred things up. That was like a whole shake in my foundation right before I was going to leave. But not only did that happen, but I was also going through a domestic violence case. So my stepdad and my mom, it was, like a whole abuse, domestic violence thing going on. And I was kind of like shocked. Like my body was in shock, and it didn't really know how to process any of the emotions that I was feeling. And so I went straight to college after all these incidents were happening. And then on top of that, I was given all this freedom. So I went from like my childhood also being very much like in a bubble of like, where are you going? Where are you at? What are you doing? With my mom, she was very protective, and I appreciate that, but it was like a lot. So anyways, I went to like that to like having freedom, and then having all these emotions pop up, that when I went to college, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I have all these emotions popping up. I have all this energy, like so chaotic, and don't know how to process it. So I'm going to party. I'm going to go drink. I'm hooking up with boys that at first I'm just like thinking they're cute and just, sexually just active. But then it starts to turn into like, can you stay with me? Like, can we be together? And I've had a lot of those incidents where I've done that with the boys, the guys that were around me in college. And so when it came to, I'm going to call this guy Jay. Jay is a guy that I am sharing the story about that I just seen recently. By the time it came to Jay, I was like, all right, this is where this energy is. Like, men just don't want to like have relationships. And of course they didn't. They're in college, like why would they? And so because of that, I was like, all right, I get it. Now this is about me having to suppress my emotions. Like nobody's going to hear me talk. Like no man is going to like want to hear what I got going on. And they definitely don't want to like take over these daddy issues, which they don't have to, but like I was trying to comprehend those, like let my needs be met in certain ways and they weren't. So I was like, fuck it. We're just going to basically suppress ourselves and keep whatever type of emotion we got going on, just keep it away and just kind of be like a man almost, like just be sexually active. And that's kind of what happened from then on until I met my boyfriend. My boyfriend that I've been with for 8 years now, almost 8 years. I am so grateful for him because I was in the midst of having that energy just be so active, like my root chakra just being so imbalanced and not really present with the idea of like actually looking for love anymore. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna hook up and that's it. So when he took me on my first date, I was not the nicest, I will admit. I was not that nice. I was also very much there for the free meal. Like, I will not lie about that. Like, I was definitely just there to be like, okay, like, let's hang out, let's have some fun, And I didn't actually sleep with him on the first night, which was a good thing. And he didn't try anything. Like, he was literally being the gentleman that he is till this day. During that time, I'm so also grateful that I had the friends that I did because we were all sort of mirroring each other in a sense of like we wanted security and groundedness, and we had each other as women. We had each other while we were trying to figure out our life outside of each other, like the guys we were dating and hooking up with, like we're just being very shitty. So to see that my friend Ernest at the time, she didn't know my situation all that deeply. I wasn't being vocal of like, I want a boyfriend, but she told my boyfriend at that time, she was like, I know that Clarissa wants a boyfriend, but she just hasn't told me that, but I can tell she does. So if you would like to go on a date with her, see how it goes. I'll put you both together. And so he's like, yeah, I'll treat her out to a nice date and we'll see how it goes. And so that's when I was like, when I heard that story, I was like, okay, well, from a perspective now, I'm like, it makes sense that like he is the person that is meant for me because it came out of something that wasn't like me just hooking up, like going out and hooking up. It was like a way that the foundation was made was already set of like, she wants to have stability. Can you be that stability? And he said yes to it. A few dates went by and I was actually like, hey, I kind of like this guy. Like, he's actually being very nice. And it happened to be me that threw myself onto him. It happened to be me. Like, of course, the hot mess one with the really overactive root chakra was like, okay, I'm just going to kiss him. We're going to like get together. And by the end of February, so we started talking in the beginning of February. By the end of February, I was like, we were already having our thing going. And in that moment of us like going home after like having a drink and then having sex, he was like, well, I eventually want to ask you to be my girlfriend. So like, I just want to put that out there and stuff. And I was like, why don't you ask me now? Like, why can't you just ask me now to be your girlfriend? And so then he was like, okay, will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, yeah. So this story I had heard the next day, because all I remember was like him asking me, will you be my girlfriend? And it was funny because when I woke up, I'm like, what? Be your girlfriend? Like, I'm dating him now? Like, oh my gosh, like my whole life just like now flipped upside down in one night. And I don't know if I could do this, but that's when, of course, my heart was like, girl, stay. Like, you know, when you're drunk, that is obviously when you like are projecting your true self, especially if you got suppressed emotions and thoughts and whatever you got going on. That went to show that, like, yes, I wanted that. But when I woke up and consciously saw that I was in the situation I was in, I was like, it was a big shocker. A little bit after that, us being together now for a good like 2 years, I was slowly starting to just feel these subtle changes. Like the way that I was showing up in the relationship was a very rough, and it was all of what I was taught. And I'm just so grateful for him for just being a solid foundation, like stability to the core of like me just projecting tantrums, me just projecting different habits of how I had been so accustomed to respond, and him just taking it in, just letting me have whatever imbalanced emotion pop up and still being the loving person he is. And so it was by 2020, that's when I had my beautiful awakening, taking that inner journey and diving into my spirituality, that I was able to basically see how I was acting and noticed a lot of things. And for starters, it was I couldn't even have sex without alcohol, without any alternative thing that would change my state of mind. I couldn't have sex in the daytime. I had to have it at night because I was so insecure in my body that I was like, wow, like these are how the operations of like how my body was so used to responding and going about things when it came to having sex or just being in an intimate setting. And I had to work through that. And honestly, I'll just keep saying that I'm so grateful for my boyfriend because he held space for that. I basically had to be celibate for quite a minute. It was very much hard the whole time to have a good time because I felt like I had abused it so much that it was rough. It was rough to see what was going on. And eventually, because of this, I was like, I need to call back my power. I need to reclaim myself from all the people that I slept with, all the interactions I had. And so I had to start with the root of it all, with that grain of salt of where it came from, not the tiniest grain of salt, but from where I could pinpoint where it was very heavy. And that was in high school, with the interaction I had with my boyfriend at that time and the cheated heartbreak of feeling betrayal, of feeling confused, and not being able to work through those emotions that were so heavy that I just had to snap into another reality, another vortex, and take that all with me. And recently, I just had a dream of my ex-boyfriend and my ex-friend that was on my cheer team. I've definitely healed from a lot of that heaviness of like what I experienced and like, you know, what I felt. But the healing process just keeps on going. It doesn't like ever really stop, because even though I'm healing as much as I can with the J guy or with my ex-boyfriend from high school, that is still in my story. Like it still exists. It's not ever like fully erased. I personally just have to be able to accept and love myself enough to see it without feeling shame or guilt. And so to come to share this story, this dream I had just a few weeks ago, in this dream, I was at a party and I was like hanging out, and then all of a sudden I see my ex-boyfriend, the one that's in high school. And I'm like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you here? I'm at a party." And he has this like sad face and he's very quiet. He's not like saying much, but I'm just like seeing the way he's moving. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. Like he's here. But then I see the girl come in, the ex-friend, and I'm like, oh no, why are you here? Like, why are you both in my dream? And so I'm trying to like avoid them and like not really talk to them, just knowing that they're here. And eventually in my dream, I'm like talking to the girl. And I remember telling her, I was like, I forgive you. You know, I forgive the situation. Whatever happened and what we experienced, like I forgive it. I'm not like I'm good now. Like I'm not sad about it. And as soon as I like projected that I forgive you, I felt a load like pretty much just fall off my shoulders. Like it felt so light in my dream. And I was able to just accept that they were there at the party. And I woke up and I wrote all this down to be like, wow, like I'm actually still subconsciously working through this. Like I thought I had actually been able to like process this. And it's funny because like, you know, adults, your parents or just authoritative figures, when you're a teenager, they're like, oh, that's just like a little summer love type of thing. You know, it's just a little young love moment. Like you're gonna get over it. Like it's just your boyfriend for now and you'll be fine, you know? And you're not really in love. Like that's just you just being young. Like you're young. That right there doesn't allow the teenager that is actually feeling these feels to process these emotions. Like, yes, it's true. Like, that's probably, like, you're probably going to have a lot more experiences than that, but that does not discredit the fact that they are part of that process. Like, they are actually part of how you get to that journey. And every single interaction, big or small, needs to be integrated. It needs space to be released and processed so you don't take that on into the next relationship, into the next one. Why do you think people repeat patterns of cheating, repeat patterns of just being dishonest with themselves? Because they don't allow themselves to process what has happened to them or what they're experiencing or why they need to be with another person or another person. Like, what are they seeking? What do they need? You know? And there's just so many scenarios. Like, there's so many cases and different things. So I can't pinpoint like everybody's situation, but I know for me, it's like, and for any teenager, it's like the idea of like, that is still valid. That needs to be processed because it will stick with you in your womb, in your creative portal, and you will take that on and you will carry it. And it will just be at first a grain of salt turning into a boulder. And so my healing process turned from a boulder, like having to dismantle a boulder. And I knew that that was just a lot of energy accumulating. It was like a partner after a partner, like a sexual encounter after a sexual encounter that just kept popping up to me the more that I was like, I need to heal from this. I gave myself space knowing that these memories were going to pop up. And when they did, that's when I was able to put into action me calling back my power. And I remember in those moments when those memories would pop back up, I would feel shame. I would feel guilt. I would feel everything that I had felt at that time. And I would place my hand over my womb, below the navel, right by the uterus, right there where the sacred portal is. And I would imagine a golden light, and I would say, I call back my power. I call back my power. I would even reach out my hand and pull that energy back in as if like I was literally getting my power back from that person and putting it back inside of me. And just continuously keeping up with that affirmation until I believed that I was calling back my power. So now to like fast forward to 5 years, basically, this now present moment, again, yes, still calling back my power and knowing that the past is always going to come up, but that aspect of calling back my power really like helped change my perspective and save my life, basically, because it allowed me to move out of my past and into my present. And I was not stuck there for very long when I was seeing all that I had went through with the J guy in my past. I was easily able to just forgive myself the situation and see myself as, yes, a naive girl that was just sort of giving away her rubies, her beautiful gems, and doing whatever she could to just fulfill this habit, this very toxic pattern. And the calling back my power actually worked. It really did help me just come back to the present moment. And so once I finally got home, I got into my driveway, turned my car off, and I gave myself a hug. I literally was like, we're good, girl. Like, we live in a good place. Like, we're healthy, whole, and complete now. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I really do believe that us women, we are not fully aware of how powerful we are. We're not aware that we are literally supernatural creatures. Like, we give life. We can birth it into existence. And we can know without knowing. Like, we're so intuitive. And also, we can hold a lot of pain. Like, a lot of us can endure so much pain. And we are really just this magical vortex naturally. We are gifted with this. Yet some way, shape, or form down the line, we already know like how this whole historical world works, that we become suppressed. Like, women just really keep it in a taboo place, and it keeps us little. It keeps us from actually creating and making magic with ourselves. Like, actually allowing our sensuality to roam free, allowing our beautiful feminine energy to just be that sacred portal to literally create life, to literally just be in tune with the divine. And it's sad. It's really sad to just see that, like, a lot of us, we take on either whether we've said yes, like we've given consent, or we have not given consent. We carry it. We carry it. We carry the shame. We carry the guilt. We carry all these dense emotions that are within us, all the dense emotions that will be given to us, and we just hold it in our sacred portal. We hold it there and we just don't know what to do with it. We don't know the fact that it's taking up space. It's really becoming a block. It's becoming stagnant energy. And it also manifests into different imbalances, bacterias, and whatnot. So that portal gets really messy when it is not aligned. And this is something that I really do want to just address, is like when you call back your power, it's like you literally claiming back your spiritual sovereignty, like you being whole, you feeling complete. Shame and guilt are like one of the two lowest vibrations of emotions that any human can feel. Because when we're stuck in shame and guilt, then we're living in that karmic cycle of just belittling ourselves. Little and little and little we become. It's like, I'm pretty sure you've seen Soul. I love that movie. And how that beautiful, bright essence, that soul, ends up becoming this like dark shadow because it's repeating these affirmations to itself. I'm not worthy of being with somebody who loves me, or I'm not worthy of leaving my past behind and seeing it as something that is a part of my story, but I don't have to relive it. I had so much shame and guilt inside of me that it was so hard to speak to anybody about it. I was that ashamed of it. Now to just share this out loud, like obviously it's not heavy and it's definitely been worked through. And I'm so glad that I'm showing up to share this because I know I'm not the only one. We are in 2025 where women can do what they want. They can be able to sleep with how many men they want. Look at Sex in the City. Like, these are just perfect examples to show that women can own it. But at the same time, we're just so magical that we tend to forget that we're also carrying things like subconsciously that keep us in a pattern, that keep us in a loop. And we, as a collective of women, we have the power to change it. So I want to share some of the things that I did to like actually work through the nitty gritty of that portal. And that is through yoni steaming. So yes, not only did I affirmize, I don't know if that's a word, but not only did I use affirmations for this portal, but I also took advantage of holistic ways to connect back to it. And yoni steaming was one of them. So in one of my episodes, I do talk with a yoni specialist. Her name is Tamika Skinner, and she's from Berkeley, California, and she owns a feminine wellness spa. And I met Tamika in 2020. Like during that same time that I was healing myself, she came into my life and I was able to just learn so much about the yoni. Yoni is a Sanskrit word that basically means vagina, that means womb. And her services, one of them that she has is the yoni steaming. So to do yoni steaming, it is using herbs. And a beautiful thing that I learned from Tamika is that these herbs that blend together and speak with one another, they become sacred medicine. And when they're steamed and between your legs, when the steam hits your yoni, it allows your yoni to absorb the aroma of what the herbs are projecting out. And yes, depending on some of the herbs, they can help with STDs. They can help with really bad periods and cysts and bacteria and parasites, and the list goes on of like how they help. And for me, what I used it for was, of course, I had a lot of imbalances, especially with my hormones. Like it was feeling very rough sometimes, and of course there was just so many blocks of like energetically feeling like I couldn't get wet down there. Like I couldn't actually like get into the mood because again, I was just like having to rely on substances to like actually help it work. And so using those herbs like allowed my yoni to come back to life, to come back to its rhythmic nature of how it's supposed to move and work. And yeah, yoni steaming really did change the game. And on top of yoni steaming, I also got a yoni egg from Tamika back in 2020. And this yoni egg, so she had them like in a drawer and like it was in a black velvety bag. So I couldn't necessarily see what egg I was going to get. And I just put my hand in there and she's like, whatever egg you get, that's basically the one that's like for you. Like that is your egg. So I grabbed it and let me show you my egg. This is the yoni egg that I pulled that day from the black velvety bag. And the crystal is Kambaba jasper. And Kambaba jasper, its spiritual meaning is to help you ground and to help you become emotionally balanced. And it's also associated with helping you connect your heart to your root chakra. And with all those beautiful elements that are in this crystal, I was like, oh, now as I like look back at it and like me having this is like, wow, yes, this is my egg that I needed. And during that time of me doing the yoni steams, a lot more than I usually do now. Like now I only do it like once a month, but then I was doing it like once a week, every other week, just to like really flush out what was going on. And the yoni egg was one of them. I was inserting it at around, not at the same time, but like around that time that I was like really diving in and healing myself. And a lot of people are afraid of like putting this in your vagina. Yes, it could be like a little intimidating, but honestly, to be honest, like your body already knows how to like project things when it doesn't need it or when it's not of use, you know, like for example, having to go pee or poop, like your body naturally knows that you need to like flush this out and let it go. Like this does not need to stay in your body. You need to release this. Or like if your stomach's upset, you throw it up. Like that's what your body does. It knows how to like reject it when it doesn't need it. Like don't underestimate the intelligence of your body. Your body is so intelligent and knows exactly how to respond and how to heal itself. Naturally, my body would just let it go when it was ready to go. And I would feel these shifts. Like my body would feel a little bit woozy, but honestly, like I felt the magic. I felt it working. That energy was circulating and clearing out and making space for more, because that's essentially what our sacred portal is. It's also the creative portal again. It's that sacral and your roots, so the base of your spine to your ovaries, that is your sacral and your root. So root first and then sacral, and they work as like two peas in a pod. Like they work together. But of course, like your sacral itself is like really what gets the sparks going. That's how we get the sensuality going. That's how we get the like creativity going. In our hips, you can hear people say, shake your hips, because that's where we store energy. We store them in our hips. It's like it's our chi energy. We hold a lot of energy in here, and that friction, of course, is that's what makes life happen is by using that friction. And so you can use that friction in many different ways, not just like in a sexual way, but in a sensual way of just like really being in tune with your craft. And when it's just blocked, it becomes blocked in all ways. And security and feeling safe in yourself, it also corresponds with money. Like money blocks happen a lot because of being imbalanced in that same area, in the root, in the sacral, of not having that spark of life actually filling you. So when you're living in those repetitive patterns, that karmic cycle, it becomes so dense. And it's like almost like there's no way out. But there is. And it's a matter of calling back your power, calling back your own awareness of like, how can I help you, body? Like, how can we move through this? Like, we are feeling stuck. We are feeling stagnant. So how can we transmute this? And if I would have known what I know now at an early age, it would have probably been totally different. But of course, like a lot of us, we just grow up with these limited perspectives on how to take care of our sacred portal. It's not really talked about. Again, it's very much taboo on like energy itself being something we don't talk about. It's very much just black and white. And so I remember at an early age, I was given the story of the birds and the bees, and of course like taking the family life courses on like learning about periods back in like 4th grade. But it's like very limited to what you learn. And I was in 8th grade when I had my period. 8th grade. I was basically a baby. I was 4th grade going into 5th grade. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I felt the world being so cold and gloomy and dense, and my body at school was just like, oh, it was not feeling good. And then I leave school, I get dropped off at my grandma's house, and my aunt's watching me. So like one of my older aunts, she's like watching me, and she's like, I was like, I'm bleeding. And she's like, oh, you have your period. And then she like gives me a pad, and like, it's kind of like, oh, Clarissa started her period. And I'm like, yeah. And it was kind of like not talked about. Just put a pad on it, honey. Like that's how you deal with it. You started, welcome to the club. And that's it. It's very just, that's it. And I remember like even experiencing my periods like from that time of being 8 to like in high school. There are a few photos of me just slumped over on a pile of blankets because I am in pain. I have so much pain coming out from my uterus. I'm having so many cramps and I just don't know what to do with it. I'm just there dead, like feeling so drained and in pain. And I lived like that for so long. And I love my mom. I'm so grateful that she shared what she knew at the time. It was, it was very limited. But at this present moment, our relationship has grown so much that she's even shared, like, we both share what herbs work for yoni steaming. We're like, hey girl, try out this herb or this bundle and whatnot. And so we exchange information because now we know how important it is. And I even made her a yoni seed out of wood with my miter saw, with my own 2 hands, using Home Depot wood and put it all together. And it was amazing just to be able to honor the sacred portal by making a creation for it. Yeah, it's a game changer, honestly. It really does help when you are aware of your sacred portal and how to take care of it. I came across this video on social media one time where I thought it was like the most magical thing I had ever seen. It was so beautiful. This woman, she was holding a ceremony for her daughter who had just gotten her period, and she invited like her grandma, her aunts, and her cousins, like all the women in her family, to be able to honor this sacred moment of her transitioning and getting her period. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to be able to hold that space for the women, the beautiful young girls that will be entering my life in my future. Hopefully, I'll have some daughters or maybe some nieces. I want to honor the sacred portal and honoring that time when the yoni itself is going to be awakened and blossoming and blooming and just holding that space. Ah, so good. I think about it still and I'm like, yes, yes, yes. We're going to do that. We're going to share that. We're going to make sure these young girls get what they need to be able to own and claim their body from the beginning of when it all happens, and let them flourish in it. So I hope this message finds you well, soul babes, because I know a lot of us women are going through some type of transformation, change, just calling back our powers in so many different ways. Just honoring back that sacred portal is so important. So before we close, I do want to dive into a mantra and a meditation with you. So if you can, just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths with me, breathing in through the nose and exhale. Breathing in through the nose and exhale, let it go. Another time, breathing in through the nose, getting as much oxygen into your lungs, and exhale out of the mouth. Now place your hand on your lower abdomen, so right there on that sacred portal, basically where your uterus is. And I want you to just tune in to that space, imagining that from your palm, you can feel warmth, seeing a beautiful, light, golden energy beaming out of your own hand into your portal. And just sit with it for a moment, just sitting with your portal. Beautiful. And I want you to repeat after me. I call back my power. I call back my power. I call back my power. Beautiful. Now at this time, you can begin to open your eyes and come back to this present moment. And after this episode, I encourage you to journal, to reflect on what has been popping up for you. What energies do you feel like you're still holding on to? Even just reflecting on the partners that you've intertwined with and seeing what that energy holds. And call back your power. Continuously call back your power with that mantra, with sitting with it and closing your eyes. I gift this mantra to you. Please do use it whenever you are feeling the shame, guilt, these emotions just rising. You are worthy. Your body is so beautiful. And I really do hope that you are able to see that for yourself. So thank you, Soul Babes, for joining in on this episode. If you would like to hear more about being in your essence, be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And if you would like to hear more Essence podcast episodes, you can find it on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And I'll see you in the next one, Soul Babes. Bye for now.